Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? All right, I knew after last night's videos, people would have a lot of comments about the possibility of a 161 rate. In the past, it was pretty hard to get an idea of how many dinars were actually out there in circulation. Now, I know the report says 161 trillion. I see that. So you can imagine if you did a 3-to-1 rate, you're talking about major trillions of dollars. But with the article that came out, it gave us a chance to look at it with a different perspective and come up with an idea of what it might be. So I'm going to go back and respond to some of your comments because some of you people have some good questions. And let's see if we can't get you some answers. Before we get started, do me a favor and hit the thumbs up button. And if you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I certainly do appreciate it. If you're thinking about buying gold and silver, head on over to our friends at Money Metals Exchange. The link will be down below in the description. If you are a first-time buyer and you spend more than $100, use promo code PIMPYSILVER. Yes, it has changed. PIMPYSILVER. So if you're watching this video and it's an older video, make sure you check on current videos because the code is going to be changing from time to time from now on. Also, I can be found on other platforms. Everybody knows I have my own website, Pimpy's News Network. Over here, I post videos that I can't get away with over on YouTube. Also, I have a group on Facebook called Pimpy's Investment Chat. Over here, we do talk about gold, silver, cryptocurrencies, as well as foreign currency investments. Come on over here and join us. It's free to do so. You can also come follow me on Twitter, MeWe, YouTube, and Odyssey. The links for all these platforms will be down below in the description. So for whatever reason, if I get removed off of one platform, you could find me on the others. Okay, so let's get into the comments. All right, here we go. Robert, what does Robert say? Here's something Pimpy missed. All around the world, frozen foreign currency reserves are being released. The amounts, from what I hear, are substantial. That will only increase Iraq's currency reserves and increase the dollar value substantially. Should Iraq's frozen assets add to 40 billion, then using the same formula increases the dinar to $2.14. Well, Iraq doesn't have any more frozen assets. That was released a couple of years ago. So what they're showing you is what they have. That is the foreign currency reserves, which are actually held here in the United States. So there's no frozen funds anymore. And as far as all around the world, frozen foreign currency reserves are being released. I'm only talking about Iraq. I'm not sure about other people's foreign currency reserves. So yeah, I mean, again, only took what we had in the whole equation, which was 115 billion in reserve currencies, US dollars, 8.422 billion in gold reserves based on 130.22 tons, and then did it that way. Obviously, we know they have a lot more other assets. You just can't account for all of them. Again, when I did the video showing you guys that the $1.61 could be a possibility, that is if you take in consideration them getting rid of all of their foreign asset reserves as well as all of their gold reserves, and they're not going to do that. But, I mean, they have the money there to cover it if they needed to. Seahorse Sue, that's an interesting name. I like it. I am so glad I found your channel. You helped me to understand so much that I was clueless about. Thank you for just practical information without the hype. I pray all is going well for you. God bless. And the same to you. God bless you, and I appreciate all the kind words. So what does it say? Khalid. Okay, calculations of 150% coverage should be realized considering current exchange rate of 1,300 IQD per $1. According to current amounts of IQD should be equal to 124 billion times 1,013 divided by 150%. Yeah, that sounds about right. Andy says, got it. Assets divided by notes equals $1.61. Simples. Well presented, Pimpy. You're welcome. Somebody said you repeat yourself a lot. I do, because I want to make sure people get it. I try to usually explain things multiple different ways so that, it's something for everybody, so to speak. Mike said, I just wanted to reinstate already and be done with it. I don't care if it's a dime, just ready for all this to be over with. Yeah, Mike, a lot of people are. A lot of people have been dealing with this now for decades. Dougie says, Thanks for the education and information with the IQD. You are appreciated, Pimpy. Thank you so much. I appreciate the kind words. Hoff says, thank you for the breakdown what the exchange rate could be. I seen a comment about looking at the rate as a regional thing. Apparently, they don't understand that the rate is a world exchange rate, not a regional rate. Yeah, I seen that comment, and I'll respond to here in just a couple minutes. But yeah, thank you for chiming in. Mark says, if this all happened in a positive way, the first thing I would do is invest in more physical metals, gold and silver, because shortly afterwards, the world would figure out the dollar is trash. Yeah, you and me both. That's for sure. I'd definitely buy more. Ruxy, let's see. Thanks for the simplified view. I needed that. You're very welcome. Kipper Tahoe. This is so common with Iraq. Each time they get down to the end of the something major, they just stall. Can't agree that budget should have been ready at the beginning of the year, and already somebody has beat you to the punch about the exchange rate. He said what the rate would be about 3 weeks ago, but thanks for breaking it down. Well, I didn't know there was a race. That's the whole point, is just to share with everybody. You just kind of give your opinions. J-Bash. Those numbers support my theory that they are still at the contract rate and lowering it incrementally to bring in the 3-0 notes, then about 1-to-1 ratio rate, let it float and find its real value. And I've seen people say this several times, that they're waiting for the exchange rate to float. Although they're pegged to the US dollar, the Iraqi exchange rate is a floating rate on the open market. That's why the official rate is 1,320 dinars for every dollar. But here you can see the open market is 1,458.50. This is because it floats. So I hear people say that all the time. They're waiting for it to float, but it already floats. And everybody keeps talking about a contract rate. What is a contract rate? There's no contract rate. That's just a rate, the exchange rate, period. So they don't have a specific contract rate. And you want to bring in the 3-0 notes. We are currently at the 3-0 notes right now. They want to delete the 3 zeros. So close. Nice, Pimpy. Thanks for breaking it down for us. You're very welcome. Thank you, Pimpy. You are very welcome. Here comes the Admiral. Based on what you just shared with us, if the CBI drop one of the zeros from the exchange rate each month and destroy the 3-0 notes when they come into their banks, then they should be able to get to that exchange rate without spending any of the gold. So when they do the deletion of the 3 zeros, you're right. What they would do is bring in your old note and you would swap it for the new note because the exchange rate would be fixed in. So they would do the two at the same time. They would say, this is the new exchange rate. Also, in addition to that, these are the new notes. So when you come in, bring in your old notes and we'll swap them for your new note. And they did that back in 2003. So Jared says, so the 2003 rate of $3.22 isn't crazy talk? I wouldn't say it's crazy talk. I think where people are confusing thing is they want everybody to have the $3.22 rate tomorrow. Who doesn't? But that's not going to happen. Can they get there again? Yeah, I think they can. I don't have any doubt in it whatsoever. But it's going to take time, and you're going to see it go up in increments. But eventually it'll work its way back up there. People always want to make the comparison to Kuwait. I get it. They've both been in a similar situation, but it's not exactly the same. And I've done videos explaining that. But their currency was as close to Kuwait's exchange rate. So being around 322 isn't crazy talk, but it's just going to take time to get there. D says, Pimpy, you know that the so-called experts out there are going to say, Pimpy said the new rate will be $1.61. Sit back and watch. Yeah, I know. I've seen it happen when I've mentioned stuff in video. They'll take some of the things I say out of context there and definitely put out a different kind of vibe than what I'm trying to explain. That's funny. Pedro, hi, I watch a lot of your videos and I have a lot of respect for your opinions. When do you think the dinar will float internationally? That's what I was just showing a little while ago. On the exchange rate, the dinar is floating. Okay, so there's two rates we're paying attention to. The official, which is 1,300 dinars for every dollar, or 1,320 dinars. So that's a fixed exchange rate. The floating is on the open market. So, okay, so I see where you're going with this, and the same as the other guy. When they're going to unpeg themselves from the US dollar, that's a good question. And I don't think they're there yet. But one thing's for sure, in the news today, they were talking about how different Iraq is than 20 years ago, than even 10 years ago, much further along than even 5 years ago. So Iraq is there. So you're talking about unpegging themselves from the US dollar? The countries can do that anytime they want. But the IMF is the one that's keeping them pegged to the US dollar. I mean, the truth of the matter is if the Central Bank of Iraq wanted to unpeg themselves, they can. And as a matter of fact, I guarantee once the dollar starts to decline in value, you're going to see the Iraqi dinar definitely unpeg. Because the fact that they're pegged to the US dollar, when the US dollar drops in value and it drops down big time, then it also affects their currency. So they're going to want to unpeg themselves. I realize that you don't have a crystal ball, but what do you think about it? As far as unpegging themselves, when do I think it's going to happen? As soon as you start to see the dollar crash, and I think that's going to be very soon. BP says, now that's more believable. I've been saying it would be and expected to be $1 to dollar and some change. Thanos Pimpy for breaking it down. I've been stacking like it would be 1 to 1. Late in the game, Pimpy, did you know that they have bonds also? Yeah, again, you guys, when I was doing the calculations, I said in there that there are other assets in there that I'm aware that Iraq has. I mean, the bonds, they've been buying U.S. debt from us, bonds, at an interest rate of 4% per year. That's why I was telling people we're just going to use this for simplistic sake here because there's a lot of things that are not taken in consideration that should have been. The amount of deposits, the amount of oil that's out there, the amount of bonds they hold. But you can see in the M2 report, it's talking about all assets that could be converted into cash right away. And I don't think you can do that with bonds. You might be able to. Countries might be able to. And this just says nice information. Thanks. Thank you. Appreciate it. Charlie White says the rate must be higher than Kuwait. Why does it have to be higher than Kuwait? It never was higher than Kuwait. Kuwait's always been higher. The only time you ever seen them in equal is when Saddam Hussein invaded and forced Kuwait dinar to have the same exchange rate. But they'd never been higher than Kuwait. And although I did a country by country comparison, you know, there's a good argument for having a higher rate than Kuwait's. But Kuwait's been pretty consistent now for quite some time. Wisdom knowledge? How did Sudini come up with his number? They do all kinds of weird things, like they do studies and figure out where the market is. And, you know, they work with the IMF, and the IMF keeps them that low because they don't want to crash their economy. Once the economy starts to rebuild, there's no more ISIS running in there or whatever, what have you. Then they should be good to go, and they'll start to get stronger over time. Patrick says, so when is it going to revalue? That's all I care about. It's already revalued. It revalued 2 years ago. Unfortunately, it was devalued. It's the wrong direction. It was just revalued here recently. It went from 1,450 dinars to 1,320. So the answer to your question is, they just did it a week ago. Steven says, good morning, Negative Nathan. I can't figure out why you are not in charge of the RV. You know so much. Well, I don't know about being in charge of the RV. People would complain. I mean, I would do exactly the same thing, which is do it up in increments is what I would do. But I found better info on the RV. Okay, congratulations on that. Official says, welcome to the light, Pimpy. Thank you. Been glowing in it for a long time. Digital Assets says, good breakdown. Thank you. Appreciate it. C. Kelly says, their money has to be comparable to region. Kuwait is over $3. Who said it has to be comparable to region? I'm not sure where you guys keep getting that from. That's a lie. It doesn't have to be comparable to region. Even if you looked at the exchange rates all around in the other countries, you can see they're all out of whack. So over here in Iran, you have 42,000 Iranian dollars for every 1 US. Turkey, it's 18.89 of their currencies to 1 US dollar. Syria is 2,511 to 1 US dollar. Jordan has 1.41 to $1. Egypt has 30.68 to $1. Sudan has 565.15 to $1. Saudi Arabia, for their currencies, you need 3.75 of their currency to equal one of our dollars. Yemen is 249.95 to every one of our dollars. Oman, on the other hand, one of their dollars is equal to $2.60 of ours. And you guys know in Kuwait, for every one of their dollars is equal to $3.26 of ours. So, but other than that, all the other ones are upside down. So I'm not sure where you guys keep getting a regional. Just so you are aware, there's 28 nations over here that are signed up into what's called the Arab Monetary Fund. Because all the currencies are out of whack, they use what's called the accounting dinar. They use the accounting dinar. You can look that up. Just go to the Arab Monetary Fund and you can look that up. Could be, should be, would be. I'd be tickled with the nickel. I hear that. Fractional banking. Okay, what about it? You're not saying what about it? Terry says, sounds good to me. Sounds good to me too. Gomez says, I listened to the first 2 minutes, then I passed the promos and listened to the last 4 minutes. Good deal. A lot of people don't like the promos. You can zoom past them. So, Pimpy, have you changed your mind about what? You weren't specific. Are you talking about the exchange rate? Oh, here's something that'll blow your mind even more, Andrew. Remember, you guys, for several months, Iraq was taking $1 to $1.5 billion in buying the currency off the open market. The big question is, what did they do with that currency? Did they destroy it? If they did, that means there's less currency out there in circulation. But Andrew, if you're talking about what the exchange rate could be, yeah, I definitely thought that it's going to be hard for them to do this, is what I was thinking. Just because there is so many Iraqi dinars out there in circulation. But once you take everything into consideration, well, that makes more sense and is more realistic. Reconine, I like that. Anyone on C-bonds? I'm not sure what that is. Paige says, that's just Iraq. Other countries have reserves as well, along with trade with other countries. I'm seeing closer to $4 with the float. Well, once they unpeg themselves from the U.S. dollar, I'm curious to see what will happen. Right now, they're vulnerable to all types of speculators, especially ones with heavy money. They can manipulate the value of the currency and make off like bandits and really crash the economy over there in a float. So they have to be very careful. By the way, anyone ever tell you sound like Kermit the Frog? Yes, lots of times. I have a story behind that. But yeah, yes, I sound like Kermit the Frog. Ruxseed. Oh, and if you got Christ, why even consider UFOs as anything new? Can't mess with us, no way. Can't wait to shed the skin and join the real fight. I'm mad enough to swing my sword with Michael and Gabriel. Nothing new under the sun. I'm not a person that gets shocked about aliens or UFOs. My whole life I thought they've been around. It's hard to catch them on video, but ever since I was looking at Mary Hall's videos, but that's why I started making those videos to show you guys. And for those you don't know what I'm talking about, I've been recording video off the International Space Station, and it's amazing how many UFOs are out there. See, Kelly says, same oil ports. Yeah, but one of them is being refurbished, and it's going to be big here, and I can't wait for that to be done. First, and then Boohoo says, thank you so much, making it understandable. Now, keeping it happens now, so grateful for you, and I appreciate all the kind words. I'm grateful for you. And then Heavy again says, based on gold price now? Yippers, based on the current gold price. So look, I understand that a lot of people are excited about the idea. I get it. But again, just to keep it simple, in order for them to have the $1.61 rate, they would have to get rid of all their foreign currency reserves as well as all their gold. And we know that's not realistic. But it is nice to see their foreign currency reserves continue to add up. It's nice to see them keep adding to the gold reserves. And we know they just bought, $4 billion worth of new U.S. debt. We just need them to stay out of trouble and stop sneaking money over to places like Iran before they really get squashed. We don't want that to happen. We need them to build the private sector as well as the public sector, start offering jobs, less people on welfare, less people on government assistance, and more people paying taxes. They're getting there, people. Just hang tight. I'd be curious to see what happens. Anyways, that's it for now. I appreciate all the comments, and I'll get back at you later. I'm out.